Yes, we will. And let's jump into our NBA bets, though, Brett, because we do have two games on Monday. I said there was an Eastern Conference game. That's the 76ers versus the Hawks. And then on the West Coast, we have the Jazz in Los Angeles facing off against the Clippers. You and I like this Eastern Conference game, though, Brett. And frankly, Trae Young's been hard to stop at scoring. Joel Embiid has shown that the meniscus tear hasn't been too terribly impactful against him. We've seen both of these teams score over 100 points in each of these games so far. I'm taking the over in this game. Over 225 and a half just seems a little bit too low for me. It seems possible, especially with how these teams have been playing as of late. Reaching 100 for either team doesn't seem that big of an issue. And if you look at the first game that these two teams played, they each got into the 120s. That would make 225 cakewalk.
Yeah, no, that would make it an easy over. I think as series go deeper, Higgins, you have a better sense of what the other team's trying to do, both offensively and defensively. So, we saw game three, I believe, between the Nets and Bucks be played in the 80s, which I wouldn't expect in very many playoff games in the late 2020s, early 2020s.
Yeah, that
But
was an 86-83 win for the Bucks in game three. You're right.
yeah, so I mean, sometimes these series crazy things do happen, but yeah, the Sixers and the Hawks have not had trouble scoring thus far. And if you don't know who's going to score more between Embiid and Trae Young, you might as well take the over, I guess, and root for as many points as possible.
I like the play. I mean, here in Oregon, if you want to look at futures for the playoffs, there's only one player that there's a points per game prop for the course of the playoffs, and it's Trae Young for the course of the playoffs. Does he finish with an over or under 28.2? It's not point 0.5, it's point 0.2. Rather interesting little bit of a number there.
Well, yeah, that's because you can actually average like
Yes,
28.3,
yes.
28 point. So they had to probably set it pretty
Pretty
accurately.
specifically,
Yeah.
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 28.2 is the number. I'm staying away from that right now. But Brett, it does look like you also like the Sixers Hawks game, right?
Yeah, I'm definitely on that as well, Higgins. And I think this series goes back to Philadelphia tied up. So that would be plus 140 on the money line. But that number honestly isn't big enough for me, Higgins. I think the Sixers have proven they've been the better team this series. I think Atlanta even got a little. Some people said lucky in game one. I don't know. They closed it out strong. Philly did not close it out very strong. And I think that speaks to talent and coaching. So I think Atlanta can absolutely win this game, but I'm going to give myself a little bit of a cushion. I'm going to take the 3.5 points, Higgins. That's very in line with my betting strategy. I always take the points. I don't be greedy. And I'll take plus 3.5 Atlanta, minus 110.
The Sixers already do have Danny Green out as well, so who knows what that will do for the Hawks and their guard play. I don't know. Maybe the Hawks did get lucky in game one. Trae Young was riding quite the high after that Knicks series where he just dominated the New York Knicks to come into Philly like that. But I like your pick. I don't have too good of a read on who's going to win game four, though. I do just think that the over was a pretty good number based off how these two teams' offenses have played so far. As for the West Coast game, though, Brett, I'm leaning. I'm not making an official podcast pick, but I am leaning. Mike Conley was out in Game 3 of this series between the Jazz and the Clippers, and the Clippers at home were able to win rather handedly. They won 132 to 106. Mike Conley has shown to be a big part of this team's offense in terms of assists, especially when Donovan Mitchell was out in that opening series. I don't know how I feel about this Jazz team without that veteran presence on the court. So if Conley plays, you'll probably find me on Utah moneyline because plus 175 right now with the listing of him out. That is a great listing for me, but I need to know if Conley's going to be playing or not personally.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Higgins is always big for a team to have their starting point guard in the lineup, but I really believe Utah. It start and stops with Donovan Mitchell, obviously. So if Donovan Mitchell is cooking, it might not even matter if Conley's on the court.
Yeah, Tentatively, Conley is listed as out if you look at ESPN's injury report right now. That obviously could still change day of, though. It could easily change in a playoff scenario like this. Who knows? If Jazz find it that important to go up 3-1 after Game 4, they might force Conley to go in.